Good morning, everyone. First, I would like to thank Draper Goren Holm for having me here with all of you. My name is Dr. Adel Elmessiry, and what I would love to talk with you about is leveraging the good side of DeFi. So let's start with going through the progression of blockchain waves. In my view, we had two waves so far. The first one is digital assets. So that's when we were able of, for the very first time, creating a digital asset and being able of transacting on that. That led to a whole new revolution in the way that we see assets and how they are managed. The second wave is DeFi that you've heard a lot about today, and it's basically being able of replicating all the banking and all the lending transactions on those assets that we have just created. However, those two waves also had side effects. So the first wave led to the ICO craze, where a lot of people jumped into creating assets without actually realizing the benefits and what it can do, and then the consequences of doing those. The second wave is fueling another big yield farming and circular lending, similar to default swaps that we've seen in CeFi. So that leads me to think about how can we use that for actually the good, the masses. And one thing that I always think about is that modern slavery, people are not in shackles, they are in debt. So we talk a lot about mainstream and getting this to unbanked people and helping a lot of them to actually benefit from what we bring in blockchain and what we bring in DeFi. But how are we doing that? The current system is not scalable enough, and it has a lot of waste. It cannot really accommodate all of those the unbanked. And when I'm talking about unbanked and invisible people, I'm not really talking about just people in developing countries, such, for example, Egypt, where I was born. But really, there is a whole invisible layer that exists in developing countries, such as the United States. So if we think about those, the Federal Reserve estimates that there are 55 million unbanked people in the system. That's 22% of the US households. That's in 2018. So all of those do not have access to the current banking system in there. And a lot of them cannot participate in the current existing system at all as it exists right now. So think about it, like it's more than 1/5 of the US population does not have any access to traditional DeFi, traditional systems with fiat. But why is that? Well, there is a lack of access to any nearby banking system or branches. There is minimum balances fees. There is distrust of the banking system around that. In other words, you need money to actually be able of creating a bank account. You need to have a stable system. You need to have an address. You need to have all of those information around there. It's very hard to create a bank account and be able of conducting your life if you don't have all the T's dotted and all the T's crossed in there. And back in 96, the federal law signed to basically mandate that the government would send all the transactions electronically by 99. However, they found that they cannot actually comply with it because people don't have banks, don't have banking accounts that they can do all of that stuff with. So how are we serving all of those? You can't. So the challenge that we are facing in front of us here is that the current traditional centralized finance cannot really resolve this issue. It's too small of a system for them per customer. They have a lot of fees that are associated with all that system. There is lots of friction in the process there, and they are not equipped to handle any of those small mass transactions there. And we've seen that microlending is a really good experiment. The Nobel winning prize, Muhammad Yunus, showed that you can apply it, and the rate of payback of micro lending is actually much higher than traditional lending. So the big question that always comes back is, how can we apply this to DeFi? Can we find a solution that does not focus on people that have crypto to start with? How can we help those of us that do not have crypto to begin with? How can we provide more access to people to get to the system? So that's where the decentralized lending network idea came from in there, where we would be able of creating a decentralized lending network that establishes something we call social staking. What's social staking? It's a whole novel approach for how do we look at the capital that exists in a community. In most of those invisible underbanked communities, you have a ton of wealth and you have a ton of social network existing, but it's not used at all. And what we want to achieve with it is creating a fee-free loans to the borrower, that people that need to get it, as opposed to like going to shark loaning and or payday or even bank system that they cannot get access to in the first place. Provide rewards for the people that back them in a social staking system, and also returns for the liquidity pool provider. So let's examine this a little bit. The three components that we're looking at it here is we need to think about lending in a whole new way. Up till now, we are looking at lending as you have the borrower, which is the person that wants to get a loan. Today, normally, that person needs to put a collateral, and that collateral is somewhere between 50 and 70% of what they need to get out. And then there is the liquidity provider. Those are the people that provide the liquidity. And in Uniswap, for example, they get LP tokens to hold for those. But what we are introducing here in the mix is the backers. The backer is a person that basically provides risk mitigation. Think of it as an RM token, where people would come in, provide a way to mitigate the risk in the loan. So in order for us to understand and realize this entire novel approach, we need to think about the way that we stake differently by using social staking. Social staking is a novel idea. It evolves what we have been doing today of you as a person staking your assets and getting rewards for that into a system where you have two components coming in. A borrower saying, here's a proposal that I would like to borrow money on, and then backer for them that comes in and says, like, I'm willing to back that person to get that loan out. And then the liquidity provider can provide the loan for the borrower in the system. The crux of the system depends on that borrower bringing their social network to bear on the situation, so that they can come in and say, here are my friends. Instead of borrowing directly from them, we can use this system to allow me to borrow and to unlock the potential for my friends as well there to start with. So you can create a reputation, and then you can grow from there and get more access to loans. So the way that we want to create all of the stuff is basically by the community for the community. So we are trying to create a system that allows you to unlock your social activities, your social network, the people that can help you with all your lending needs in there, and be able of backing you up in this situation and allowing you to get an access to the funds while they will be rewarded from the system. How do we do that? Where we have a whole big light paper waiting for you guys to take a look at it. Where is that? We've created a website, DLN.org. And if you go there, you will see something like this. And when you click on join us, it will ask you to connect your MetaMask, and then will give you ability to do two things. One is give us a little bit more information about you. And then if you want to, all of those are not mandatory required. And at the same time, it will give you access to the white light paper so that you can look at all of the technology that we have been building and the architecture that we have designed there to unlock the social staking for the people and be able of leveraging all of that stuff to generate a better way. Now, what I want to do here is be able of expanding this system by the community for the community so that we can get to mainstream, so that we will be able of going to everybody in normal walks of life and say, hey, you want to pay for something and get out of that debt. Why not bring your friends into this system and be able of leveraging your social capital, your social network, and be able of getting all of those loans to you. So that's it. We want to get all your help there to develop it, build it, grow it, make sure that we are on the right track. We definitely need all the help. We don't have all the answers, but we need your help to get all of the stuff and see how we can grow the system and make it big. If you have any questions, please email info@alphafin.io or email me adel@alphafin.io. And let's get this journey started. Let's create a whole new way of implementing DeFi, removing the friction in DeFi and extending it to the masses, to the entire globe. I hope to see every and each one of you registering on the site and looking forward to making this a huge, nice change for the future.